Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Straight to Deerfield Beach in Florida, where one of the young students who was shot in the Parkland school attack is holding a news conference surrounded by first responders.
Played a big part in saving Maddie's life. Second of all, I want to thank my department for all the training we've gotten, our fire chief. I want to thank my captain, Captain Pluchino, and you'll see that as the story goes, you'll see what a big part he had to play. I didn't do this alone. I was on a rescue with 5 other people. Their names are driver engineer Robert Lubinger, firefighter paramedic Jeffrey Unger, firefighter paramedic Will Glover, and Captain John Pluchino. That day started like any other day. We had run some calls, and when the call came in, we were almost dumbfounded. We couldn't believe it. Our station is at the southernmost point of the city. And when the call came in, there was so much going on that we, for some reason, we weren't dispatched right away. Our captain took the initiative of self-dispatching us, putting us on the call. I believe we were the 3rd rescue on scene. And when we got there, I looked at the organized chaos, which is what we firefighters work under, organized chaos. And I actually asked Captain Pluchino, I go, Cap, in a few minutes, I'm going to get a patient. I'm going to need staffing. And his words to me were, don't worry, lass, we'll stick together as a crew. At that point, Maddie was brought to us. And I want to digress a little bit, because what happened inside that school, as it was related to me by Will Glover, who saw Officer Fernandez. And Sarge, I'm sorry I missed your last name, I can't pronounce it. But when they were clearing the rooms, at first sight, it was believed that Maddie had disease. She looked very pale. And at that point, Officer Fernandez shook her to elicit a response from her. And I believe she gasped or she moved, but she made signs of life. At that point, he asked a nearby BSO SWAT officer to come over, and that officer put a chest seal on Maddie. I come to find out after the fact that Maddie had a tension pneumo. And I'm not a doctor, but in my estimation, that chest seal prevented that tension pneumo from progressing and perhaps killing her sooner. I thank that officer. I thank Officer Fernandez for bringing her to her. So back to when I got Maddie on the back of the rescue. When we got Maddie on the back of the rescue, we right away went to work. The officer had put the chest seal. He had also wrapped an emergency bandage around the chest seal. And she had a pretty bad injury to her right elbow, which we dressed right away. We started working on her. She was in what we call decompensated shock. Her blood pressure was very low for us. At that time, driver engineer Lubinger started an IO on her right shoulder. We started infusing fluids. We gave her oxygen. Her oxygen saturation went from the 70s to the 100s. I want to say something that I thought was, because I also teach EMT at high school, and I'm always stressing how the basic things are more important than some of the advanced procedures we perform. I looked at Maddie, and she didn't look 15, because we had been told to take her to Broward General. Someone said it. I didn't see who said it. It's 30 miles away from the school, 30 miles. with a patient in decompensated shock. I looked at her. I gave her a sternal rub. I go, hey, how old are you? No response. Second sternal rub. Hey, how old are you? She came around. She told me she was 17. So at that point, I looked at Will and I go, Will, we're going to North Broward. It's only 10 miles away. So the rest of the story is pretty simple. We revitalized her in the back. We reanimated her with fluids, gave her oxygen. We came over here, and this place was, wow, the hospital. I've never seen so many doctors, so many staff in an ER, because when we got there, we transferred her to the gurney, and we gave a report to the nurse, and we went back to work. That's all I got for you.
Morning. My name is Dr. Boyer. I'm the medical director for the Department of Emergency Medicine at Broward Health North. Our goal is to take this in a sequence give you guys kind of a timeline of what occurred real time. First and foremost, we're just honored and privileged to be sitting here with Maddie at this table here. So that is the best thing that we could celebrate today, for sure. The logistics of the operation from pre-hospital to hospital care, we implemented what we call a code green when we got the pre-hospital pre-alert that there was going to be potentially mass casualties. So from an operational point of view, when the pre-hospital personnel was doing their due diligence on the scene, from a hospital point of view, we're mobilizing multiple resources. And included in that is we gear up our emergency department in order to care for multiple patients simultaneously. And we got the enormous support of our entire hospital system, multiple surgeons, physicians, administrators, radiology, environmental services, registration, you name it, every single aspect. There's multiple moving parts and we all work synergistically. So then when pre-hospital personnel arrives at our facility, we could determine exactly who's going to care for patients and have it occur in a seamless process. So at that stage when Maddie was brought to us, her care was put right in the hands of Dr. Nietzsche Parenko, who I'm going to pass the microphone to, so he could discuss with you.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Nietzsche Parenko, Trauma Medical Director, Broward Health North. I was also a trauma surgeon on call. And when I received code green notification, mass casualty event, I was in the emergency room with my trauma team and with the rest of the hospital personnel. The information that we usually get is very short, but very important. That time we had 3 pediatric patients coming to us with multiple gunshot wounds. One of them was Maddie. What I knew about her was multiple gunshot wounds to the chest, abdomen, and right upper extremity. She was also in hemorrhagic shock. When Maddie came in, she was pale, she was not responsive, she was in shock. Immediately, she had to go chest tube placement because her wounds on her chest were very severe with massive bleeding. Initially, the chest tube was placed, which relieved the tension pneumothorax, which actually saved her life. Massive transfusion protocol, something that we start right away on patients in massive hemorrhage, was initiated. Central line catheter was placed. Blood was given. Multiple blood products were given. Fast exam was done at the bedside. It's an ultrasound that will look for any injuries in the chest and abdomen. When we found fluid in her abdomen, she was taken to the operating room within 10 minutes. What we also did is called damage control surgery. We knew that she had multiple injuries to the chest, abdomen, and arm, but we had to prioritize her treatment. So initially she went for explanatory laparotomy, for damage control surgery in her abdomen. which she did extremely well. Her second surgery was damage control in the right upper extremity, bleeding and soft tissue damage. And her third surgery was thoracotomy with ORF of her ribs, which were shattered from gunshot wound. So all those three surgeries were done in the manner of her being completely resuscitated and ready to undergo multiple procedures. As a result, her hospital stay was less than 7 days. She did very well postoperatively, and she was discharged home last Wednesday. All I want to say that because we are trauma centered, because we see this type of injuries almost every other day, because we see gunshot wounds, we see penetrating trauma, and because of our experience treating these patients, we did outstanding job, and I'm glad that Maddie and her parents are here at this table to celebrate her successful recovery.
My name is David Wilford. I'm Maddie's dad. I am very grateful to be sitting here next to my daughter, alive and well today. And there's a lot of people to thank for Maddie's life, and 4 of them are in the back of this room right there. These guys from the Coral Springs Police Department and the Broward County Sheriff's Department for pulling her out of that school and saving her life. The people at Broward North again saved her life when she came in here. Sorry, there's a lot of emotions going on, and it's just, it's hard for me to feel anything but gratitude and thanks for the miracle that's happened with her and the way that she's been blessed, and the, the outpouring from the community and all the prayers that people have given us. It's really been quite an experience, and it really has been a real miracle. And I just have a lot of gratitude and thanks, and I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for her classmates and the other parents whose children were injured and whose children didn't make it. And I'm just grateful to be sitting here next to my daughter. Thanks.
Good morning. I am Missy Cantrell Wilford. I'm Madeline's mother. I too am very grateful to be sitting here today. I'm also John's mom and Jacob's mom and Connor's mom. We have a large family. My heart is so full with gratitude for all those that have helped Madeline, but all the other victims. I see this as, yes, it is a tragedy, but I would like to try to find a way to find the positive in what has happened here in our community. What I feel very strongly about, first and foremost, is the power of prayer. We have had an outpouring from people that we don't know, people that now I consider to be our friends. I may not have met you, but your prayers were felt. Prayers aren't necessarily, you can't see them, but you can feel them. Positive thoughts and all the positive energy, the help that the first responders knew where to bring her to this facility where they had the doctors, Dr. Nietzsche Parenko and Dr. Merkel, all the staff. Everything from the beginning to the end was really divinely, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional here, but directed and guided. Those that have sent prayers and little notes and on Facebook, I can't believe she's smiling, I can't believe she's recovering. It's how you feel inside your mind as your drive and your will to want to get better, to overcome something negative like this in the community that's happened and turn it into something positive. I see that in Madeline. I could probably spend an hour talking about my daughter. I am a little biased. She's a fighter. She's a fighter, and she wants to heal and she wants to get better. But I feel that what's helped her the most, and my son as well, who's a freshman at Douglas, he has his own story to share, that it's been her friends, it's been her classmates, it's been those moments where she could feel normal, and that has helped her psychologically heal. I know that there's a lot of resources out in the community that for all the youth and the students that are going to be returning on Wednesday, as a mom, I just have to say to you, do not be afraid to reach out for help if you need it. If you need help, it's okay. It's okay to feel the way that you feel. I know that our son is experiencing a different feeling. Madeline is healing her wounds right now, but will be healing emotionally for a while, as we all will as a community. And we're grateful for the visit from a leader of our church who came and offered a blessing to her from the prayers, and also the president who came. And I have to thank all the Broward County Sheriff's Department. I'm telling you, they were here 24/7. We could not get on the floor. I mean, they were on her watch, 8-hour shifts. They would come in. Sometimes I was afraid I wasn't going to get on the floor. Are they going to let me in? But they did. They were doing their job. And one of the highlights out of this tragedy, I know this may sound silly, but they gave us an escort home. And it wasn't just an escort. They said, we're going to have, a police, escort home. And I thought, one car. And then they show up, and there's 4 on the motorcade, 3 Tahoes. They blocked off the sawgrass. I mean, this was in action, and I've never experienced anything like it. And my, teenage son is in the back seat with me, and we're like, this is like chips, where all these people are flying by, and we're like, wow, so they really went above and beyond. And one last thing about Madeline, she knows who she is, and she knows where she wants to go and what she wants in life, and that strength and power is what helps you heal. It makes you want to get up. It makes you want to keep going. She's an inspiration to me, and all those that have reached out to us, and the doctors and staff, but mainly our friends and family from people that I grew up with, went to college with, people that we don't know across the country, across the world. You have been an inspiration to me. And for those of the moms that I have not been able to visit, their children passed, I love you. I'm here for you. Those that are left in the hospital, I will come and visit with you. We have had so many visitors. I just have to say, it helped her mentality. It helped her heal. Thank you to all. Thank you for your time for coming. And I'm thinking that Madeline might like to say a little something, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'm Madeline Wolford. And I'd just like to say that I'm so grateful to be here, and it wouldn't be possible without those officers and first responders and these amazing doctors, and especially all the love that everyone has sent. And I was sitting on my couch today just thinking about all the letters and gifts that everyone has given, and just all the love that's been passed around. I definitely wouldn't be here without it. And I just want to send my appreciation, love out to all of you, and that, like my mom said, it's times like these when I know that we need to stick together, and I've seen a lot of like positive posts about what's been going on at the school, and I just love the fact that we're sticking together at this, and I'm just glad that I'm making a full recovery and everything's been going so smoothly. So that's all I have to say.
At this point, we're going to have the family, if they want to say what we can sort them out, and then we'll open it up to questions for the first responders and physicians. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Madeline, along with the first responders and her family at that news conference, speaking about what happened to her on Valentine's Day. We're hearing from one of the first responders saying that a chest seal was put onto Madeline. They initially thought that she had died. She was very pale and couldn't detect any breathing. They put on a chest seal, and that undoubtedly. More now on our top story and developments from the US following the mass shooting earlier this month at a Florida high school, which left 17 people dead. Donald Trump responded to the protests that have been held across the country by proposing to increase the age limit for buying certain types of guns and to ban bump stocks that allow semi-automatic rifles to shoot hundreds of rounds a minute. But yesterday, the powerful National Rifle Association said it would oppose any such reform. So, how likely are we to see any meaningful change in the law? And has Mr. Trump gone far enough with the changes that he has proposed? Joining us now from Houston in Texas is the Democratic strategist and former consultant to the Department of Homeland Security, Mustafa Tamiz, and also from Lakeland in Florida, Dr. Kent Ingle, the president of Southeastern University. Eagle-eyed amongst you will know that he was on the programme last week. Doctor, let's start with you. First of all, great news that Madeline is home well, but we did see that there was at least one law enforcement officer outside that school that did nothing. Nevertheless, you think that some people should be armed in schools. What difference would it have made, do you think?
Well, again, it's all about providing a layer of safety and security, and having, the program that we have here at Southeastern, the Sentinel program, is providing that layer of law enforcement officers, and it would provide a layer of many. So should one, unfortunately, like that officer did, to become a coward and not respond, we would have several that would be available to respond and do it in a rapid way to take out that active shooter and active killer. Again, I'm hoping that this horrific incident will be that final catalyst to take action in providing the layered approach, the common sense solutions that we need to have to keep our schools safe, to take guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them, and then to provide that mental health reform that allows us to create mental health systems to recognize those who are mentally unstable and to take the action that we need to take so that we can protect our school communities.
Let's ask our Democratic strategist what he thinks about that. That would still involve people being armed in schools, sir.
Yeah, I think we're asking our teachers who are trained to teach now also, carry concealed weapon and be ready to pull them out in case there's an intruder. And I don't think that there's any teachers that really care to do that, because that's not what they're trained for. And the notion that when we talk about common sense solutions and we talk about these layered security, the common sense is the more guns you have in society, the more likely you're going to have gun accidents, more likely you're going to have gun suicides, the more likely you have any kind of gun violence. The less guns you have, especially these, these weapons of mass destruction that were created really for war to be in our society, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm for the Second Amendment, but the notion that the Second Amendment covers these weapons that are used in war makes no sense to me. It is not common sense. And we really need to go towards gun safety legislation that protects all Americans.
Doctor?
Well, I would agree to the degree that we should never force a faculty member. We should never force a staff member to carry a gun. That's not what this layer of protection is all about. This is an opportunity for faculty or staff who want to volunteer and step up and put their life really at risk because they know how serious this issue is, and they want to protect the students. They want to protect the faculty, the staff that are in our community. So they're going to go through extensive background checks. They're going to go through all kinds of diagnostic mental health checks to see that they are capable and ready. Then they will go through high training. Again, 132 hours. That's 25% more than the average police officer or the average sheriff needs to be certified in being an officer. They go through the training of firearm safety. They go through the training of deadly force engagement with an active shooter, an active killer. So it is a layer of really law enforcement officers that are there ready to take out. And again, the whole purpose is to reduce the loss of life. If we can say, wow, we can, and we should never have to lose any lives whatsoever. But if we can say, wow, we can change from having the loss of 30, 35, 40 people to a significant reduction to maybe 5 or 3 or hopefully 0, we want to be ready. We have them stationed all over the campus ready. And again, it's the response time. When you have an active shooter come on and they want to take the life of our children and our students, we have to have people ready to respond. And law enforcement, the DOJ says, takes an average between 5 to 7 minutes to get on campus. The average rampage, 3 minutes long. So we want to be ready, have law enforcement already on campus, ready to engage and take out that active shooter.
Okay, Mustafa Tamis.
This completely makes no sense. I mean, if you just listen to the argument, a law enforcement officer goes through 60 hours of training every year, and some of them have been go through a 6-month academy before they get started. You want to create 120-hour training. Who pays for that training? I live in Houston, Texas. There's 1,100 school districts alone in Texas. So if we started that kind of training man hours, we're already short of funding when it comes to educating our kids. The notion that we're going to start training, civilians to take on law enforcement duties, to think that the NRA and their supporters have taken a strong position against the FBI, against local law enforcement when everybody's struggling for their budget, calling people cowards before there was any kind of an investigation. And now you want to put the teachers in harm's way of carrying weapons to try to protect our kids. What happens when a law enforcement officer enters into an active shooter position? How does it distinguish between a teacher versus someone who is carrying a gun, who is an intruder? These are just bad ideas that the NRA is using to deflect. And there's lots of people out there that are supporting the NRA in creating these hyperbolic, awful, things in our school system rather than taking responsibility. Over 30,000 people were killed in the United States from guns last year. We've had 18 school shootings this year alone. At some point, we've got to start drawing the line and saying enough is enough, and let's talk about how to actually reduce the number of guns in our society and protect the Second Amendment.
Doctor?
Well, again, it's at the heart of this, which I think we both agree, is we want to save lives. And these are sheriff deputies on this particular layer of security. And I understand the argument, the fear that you're introducing more guns. But it's like this. If you remove air marshals off airplanes, if you remove that extra layer of officers at airports and security because you're afraid that people are in harm's way and will get hurt, my goodness, to me, that's an absurd argument against it. We just have people there that are already trained, ready to respond. But here's the deal. That's just one layer of security. We need to approach this in a multifaceted way. And I love how the governor has stepped up and has listened and has discovered and is now proposing, the governor here in Florida, a 3-pronged approach. First of all, looking at gun reform. raising the age from 18 to 21 before you're eligible to even apply or purchase a gun. And then to look at banning bump stocks. And there's more to that legislation as well. But the other thing also that he's adding in terms of gun reform is to enhance our Baker Act. I'm grateful that in the state of Florida, we can, when we recognize someone on our campus who is mentally unstable, our mental health professional who serves on our campus can then call law enforcement. Law enforcement will come and apprehend that individual and then place them in a mental care facility or a hospital to help protect themselves, but also protect our community. Well, the governor is proposing.
Sadly, we're running out of time, so I'm going to have to interrupt you there. Thank you so much for your point of view. Sadly, the mental health facility did not kick in as far as this young man was concerned. Final thought to you, Mustafa.
Look, I think we can talk about this in endless loops, but at the end of the day, the most common sense is that we don't have any more mental health issues than we do in Europe, where we see less gun violence. And the reason for that, there are less guns in society. That's the direction we should head in while protecting the Second Amendment.
Okay, good to talk to both of you, as always. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Melania Trump has been talking about gun control. Let's listen to what she had to say.
I have been heartened to see children across this country using their voices to speak out and try to create change. They're our future, and they deserve a voice. I know all of you are seeing this in your own states and territories too. And I believe that if we all come together, we can start to affect positive change for our children and help prepare them for their futures. As I have said before, it is important that as adults, we take the lead and the responsibility in helping our children manage the many issues they are facing today. This means encouraging positive habits with social media and technology, even limiting time online, and understanding the content they are exposed to on a daily basis. This also means taking the time to teach them about the real dangers and drug abuse and addiction. This country is in the middle of an opioid crisis. Let's use that grim reality as a tool to stop this epidemic. Before you leave to go back to your wonderful states and territories, I'm asking you all to join me today and commit to promoting values such as encouragement, kindness, compassion, and respect in our children. With those values as a solid foundation, our kids will be better equipped to deal with many of the evils in our world today, such as drug abuse and addiction and negative social media interactions. In my role as First Lady, I want to nurture and protect the most valuable part of our society and our future, children. I hope you will join me today in my efforts and ask for your support. My office will be reaching out to many of you in the future as we travel the country and work to promote and fight for the well-being of our children. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for all that you do for your home states and territories. God bless each of you and your families, and God bless the United States of America.
Melania Trump speaking a little earlier about events that happened on Valentine's Day in Florida, where 17 people were killed in that shooting in a school.
Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me now, Kevin Maguire, Associate Editor of the Daily Mirror, and Andrew Pierce, Consultant Editor of the Daily Mail. Are you controlling yourself?
I'm sorry, it's him. It's not, actually.
No, I know. Never would be. Right. OK, so Donald Trump, I would have tackled the gun
Come on,
unarmed.
why does he say something like that? He says he'd have tackled him unarmed. Well, that's heroic, isn't it? Well, that would have actually... Some people reading this might think, well, that's one way of getting rid of the president, because the gunman would presumably put a bullet in his head. Look, I think he just needs to stop all this macho posturing, having a go at that poor bloke who was supposed to be
Scott
protecting
Peterson.
the school, who now says he was actually doing his job. He was supposed to be taking stock and working out where the shooting was coming from. He's just got to get a grip with the fact that there's too many young people who have guns in America, and at last we see a chink of light. Advertisers are withdrawing support from the National Rifle Association, and those young people from that school have gone on the march. And maybe, finally, the country's waking up to the fact they've got to do something about this.
And if the purchasing power of Americans might finally have an impact, it'd be interesting to see.
Money can be the king. I mean, what is this? The 17th fatal shooting at a school in America? We're not even at the end of February.
The dollar counts, but like, Trump's a Billy liar fantasist. He wasn't going to wade in, gun or no gun. There might be some criticism of the guy with the gun outside who didn't go in, or he says he was confused.
Yeah, for the president to make that.
No, well, it's deflection, isn't it?
Yeah,
as he wants to arm teachers,
but of course,
and he wants to try and
ratings have gone up though.
What, pretend he's some
sadly
Hollywood hero, and he would have gone in on him. There is no personal bravery any time by Trump. He's now surrounded by armed guards.
Yeah.
If he's that brave, get rid of all your armed guards, and then let's see how you fare in a country that's full of guns. There's too many guns in the States. You need fewer. That's the answer, not more.
I've been getting away with it all.